Good morning. Welcome back to the 1.2 podcast. Jack, how you doing today?
Doing well, doing well.
Good, good. Well, we have the NFL just around the corner, and I'm sure you are as excited as anyone else to get some meaningful NFL games. You got the little taste with college games coming on now, but here in a week we get real NFL football. So, with that in mind, today we are going through a couple of questions regarding the upcoming season, maybe some hot takes, and some predictions, if you
Oh, so
will,
we're gonna be
as to
bookmarking
we're,
this
we're
podcast.
that's right, that's right. This is for future reference. All right, and so we're going to go through a couple of teams that didn't make the playoffs last year that you think might, a couple of teams that did make the playoffs that you think won't, teams with different odds to win the Super Bowl, and then maybe some banter about coaches on hot seats, and we might throw in the Green Bay Packers here and there too. So, as we know, every year there's a list of teams who made the playoffs last year who won't make the playoffs this year. So I'm going to read through uh, last year's playoff teams, starting with the AFC, then the NFC, and we'll talk about which ones you think maybe won't make the playoffs this year. So AFC, we've got the Ravens, the Bills, the Chiefs, and the Texans. They were the division winners. So let's just start with them. Out of those four, do you think there's any who won't make it? Um, and if so, which ones?
You said Ravens, Bills, Chiefs, Texans, right?
Yep, yep.
I'd probably go with the easy answer here
The
in the
Chiefs, right?
rate. Yeah, I'm going Ravens,
Sure.
and I think
Sure.
that's the easy answer, not because they're not a good team, but the AFC North is just a tough division.
Right.
I think obviously with Joe Burrow back in Cincinnati, they have a chance to be a Super Bowl contender. Um, I'm not. I like Cleveland's roster. I'm not sold on quarterback.
Right.
But if Joe
Right.
Flacco can do what he did, I mean, Deshaun Watson has to be able to do something. Uh,
Yeah. Yeah. No, I agree. I agree. That's probably um, that's the I would say the division that has gotten the more difficult. I would go with the Texans actually out of those four. And the reason is not because I think confidently someone else is going to win that division.
mhm.
Maybe Jacksonville gives them a run, but I think, the second year dip in quarterback, I think, people will have figured out Stroud a little bit,
Mhm.
and that they have a whole year of tape on him now. They'll learn some tendencies, and he didn't have anything to lose last year.
Right.
But now, new coach, new quarterback, people are going to start picking out tendencies, things like that. So I'm gonna say actually the Texans are less likely.
I think I
So
could
that
be. I think I could be talked into the Bills too. But
that's an interesting one because obviously Rodgers is
yeah,
going to be healthy again. They lost some key players. They're kind of in a rebuild mode. Um, so between those three, obviously we can't bet against the Chiefs until someone beats the
yeah, I'm
Chiefs,
not gonna
right?
touch that one.
um, okay, and so then we have the wild card teams from that year. Um, and to your point, that was the Cleveland Browns, Pittsburgh Steelers, and the Miami Dolphins. So obviously, when you look at those three, you could say any of them might not be back.
Yeah, yeah,
Um,
easily. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if any of them weren't in. Again, you'd look to the AFC North, the big missing piece, Cincinnati. I think is one of the premier teams in the AFC.
yep.
I'm not sold on what Pittsburgh did at quarterback,
Right.
even though they're
Right.
always a tough team to play, and Mike Tomlin always has them around that 500 mark.
Yep.
I don't think he's ever had a losing season.
He's never had a losing season, although this last year it was the closest I think that
Yeah,
they got to, especially missing the playoffs. I mean, they just barely squeaked in. Um,
I'm not super sold on Miami. Like, I don't know.
I'm more
That's gonna be that flashy team that
mhm.
sitting week 9, week 10. They're what 7-2,
Right.
eight and
Right.
one,
Hit a rough spot.
and then they always kind of just fizzle out. And I hate to
Well,
make it like this because I don't really believe in this that much, but it always seems like weather gets a little bit colder. We're not playing in South Beach.
sure.
There go the
Sure.
Dolphins.
Well, I think people also forget how injured Tua was first couple of years.
Yeah,
And last year was really his first full year completely healthy. So he gets another concussion. That's really big cause for concern. Obviously, they've got a better coach and a better system figured out for protecting him. But okay, so we've got 7 teams there: the Ravens, Bills, Chiefs, Texans, Browns, Dolphins, and Steelers. What's your, I don't know, I'd say hottest take out of those? The ones that most people would think they're in, that you would say has the highest chance of not making it.
probably Buffalo or Baltimore,
Okay.
just
Okay.
because they're I mean I'll explain the reasons why I think both of them
Yep.
might not make it, but I think those are consensus Super Bowl contenders among most people, and I wouldn't be surprised. I'll go out on I'll pick one. I'll say Baltimore's not going to make the playoffs.
All right. All right. And I will go with I'll go with Houston. I'll go with Houston. I think that second year dip. I think they were a Cinderella team last year, and then reality
They
comes
just
back.
don't have too many people to compete. Well,
No, I know
I'll hold off.
they've
I'll
got an
hold off on
easier
that.
pass. They've got an easier path, but I just I think something's going to happen there. All right, so let's go then to the NFC. We've got the 49ers, Cowboys, Lions, Buccaneers, Eagles, Rams, and Packers. The division winners were the 49ers, Cowboys, Lions, and Buccaneers. I think it's pretty easy for us to all look at that list and say one of them is not like the others.
Yeah, yeah,
So we can probably, with consensus, say Tampa Bay. If there's a team that's not going to make it back, it's going to be them.
yeah.
But
I agree.
so then between the wild card, we got the Eagles, the Rams, and the Packers. Is that one as clear to you?
I never know. Well, I'll put it this way. I think the Eagles are playing with fire. They are at that
Sure.
tip. They're at that tipping point. Would it surprise me if they had a Super Bowl type run in them? No. Would it surprise me if they completely fizzled out and Nick Sirianni was fired? No.
Yeah, that's why I would go with the Eagles being less likely than the Rams. Is I just have more trust in Sean McVay.
Mm-hmm.
I've seen Cooper Cup go down. I've seen them switching in receivers and getting the most out of rookies. I've seen the system work. So I have, even though Stafford, he's a good quarterback, but continues to decline as a aging quarterback would. Um, has health questions here and there. I just trust McVay more to get him in a spot where they can get in versus the Eagles. Um, Although the Eagles will be interesting. They added Saquon Barkley. They seem to have gotten over their drama. But they lost some key pieces. Travis Kelsey being the biggest. Not Travis, Jason Kelsey being the biggest. So obviously that's going to hurt them. And who knows how successful the brotherly shove is going to be without him. How many fourth downs are they going to convert now? Really interested to see what those metrics look like.
I agree with your point on the system. Uh,
Yeah.
you know, Sean McVay's been there, done that. To
Right.
me, and let's set the system aside. The Rams are almost like the Dolphins to me in that they're kind of playing with fire at quarterback with
Yeah.
the health of their quarterback.
Yep.
You know, and they're both good system quarterbacks.
Right.
And I don't mean that in
Right.
a bad way at all.
No, no, I think that's a compliment. Because if you get the right coach and the right quarterback in that system, that's what you want.
But if the
That's really
Rams are
what you
rolling out like Stetson Bennett,
want.
I don't think we can. I wouldn't put them above Philly at that point. But again, I mean, all of this is dependent on health. And
Right. Yeah. I
if we're
mean,
looking
Jalen
at,
Hurts.
yeah,
Right. I mean, Jalen Hurts might be hurt again. I mean, he's a tough physical running quarterback, and that just exposes it. We've seen what happens to running quarterbacks over the years.
mm-hmm.
So, all right. So let's go to the other end of the spectrum. And those are teams that did not make the playoffs last year that we think most likely to make them. So to that, we're going to look at last year's draft and just pick a couple. We won't go through divisions and things like that, but I'm just going to read off the top 10 teams in the draft. We'll skip a couple because I know we had some trades and things like that. But between the Bears, the Commanders, the Patriots, the Cardinals, the Chargers, the Giants, the Titans, and the Falcons. So, of those teams, uh, who would you say most likely to make the playoffs? And is there a hot take in there for any of them? Understanding that the Bears obviously got their pick from North Carolina, so that's kind of a false number one pick.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, I think I'm looking at the bookends of the teams that you said there. I think Chicago has a good chance at sneaking in a wild card spot. Um, yep. I mean, the fact is they have a talented roster. I don't know how much faith they have in that organization to capitalize on that,
Mm-hmm.
but it's right there for them. Um,
How
tough
far did
division.
they?
Tough
How
division.
how far did they have to go for Matt Eberflus to save his job?
I would say they gotta make it to the playoffs.
Just making the playoffs,
Yeah.
even if they get blown out in the first round.
Yeah, because they're playing with house money. I mean, they've got a rookie quarterback that's never played a snap in his life, and they're fine with that.
I don't know. I think the expectations now are so high, though. I think I guess I agree that if they make the playoffs, but I can see the Bears doing a very Bears thing and just gut reaction. They make
Mm-hmm.
it to the playoffs, but they get blown out by, maybe Green Bay or some other division team or something like that, and then they just overreact, clean house, and now we've got a new coach for a rookie going into a second year. That just seems like something the Bears would do.
Yeah, yeah,
So then going back, you said Chicago, and then the other bookend on that was the Atlanta Falcons.
right. I think they're most likely to make it out of any of the teams you said. I think they've got a not necessarily a much improved roster, maybe a much improved play calling, and
Mm-hmm.
then obviously putting in a good quarterback
Right,
with Kirk Cousins. So, I mean,
right.
I just see Kyle Pitts, Drake London, Bijan Robinson. I mean, that offense has a chance to be electric, especially on the turf down in the NFC South. I mean, they're going to be fast.
Yeah,
And Raheem Morris, I like him as a defensive coordinator. So I think I expect that defense to be a lot better and humming.
yep,
Um, I think you look at the division too. I'm not
right,
sold on.
right,
I mean, we talked about Tampa Bay not being a
right,
great team.
right.
Carolina, definitely not expecting much from them.
Right.
And it's just And I think maybe one of the worst teams in the league might be New Orleans.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see what happens with them. All right. So let's look at some of these middling teams, right? So we've got these teams who weren't bad enough to get a good first round draft pick, but weren't good enough to make the playoffs either. And we're going to go with the Jets, the Broncos, the Raiders, the Saints, the Colts, and the Seahawks. Out of those, any hot takes?
I think the Denver Broncos are going to make the playoffs.
Think so.
Yep.
Even with being in a division with the Chiefs and the Chargers, who everyone now says, with
What have the
Harbaugh
Chargers
there,
ever done to deserve to be the?
they've made the playoffs. See, that's the thing. They lose in dramatic fashion.
I like Justin Herbert. Don't get me wrong, but nothing that he has done in his career has made him a top 5 quarterback in this league.
But do you have
But
more
they're
faith?
everyone's darlings every year.
Do you have more faith in Justin Herbert or Bo Nix?
I don't know.
Now, well, okay. How about this? Do you have more faith in Sean Payton or Jim Harbaugh?
I have more faith in year 2 of Sean Payton than year 1 of Jim Harbaugh.
But is it really year 1 of Jim Harbaugh? It is with this team, but obviously he spent a long time with the league.
Yeah,
I tend to think that Sean Payton is one of the more overrated coaches in the NFL. He had years and years in New Orleans where he did fine, but he had a Hall of Fame quarterback, and
I think this will go on the hot take record too. I'm not saying Bo Nix is Drew Brees, but he reminds me of Drew Brees in that Sean Payton system. Just
All
look
right.
at the difference. And again, is the sample size super small? Yes. Was he playing against mostly Packers backups? Yes. We can look back to the joint practice where he wasn't, and he did well.
That's fair. That's fair.
But my point is, you look at Russell Wilson in that offense,
Mm-hmm.
where he was trying to be Russell Wilson, running around, doing his
Sure.
thing. Didn't do that bad if you look at. They had some awful games, but if you look at the whole season, not that bad. I like the Bo Nix, the quick processing. He looks good. And are there going to be growing pains? Yeah, but I think they have a talented roster around him that I think they could surprise some people.
All right. Well, you heard it here first. The Broncos make the playoffs under first-year quarterback Bo Nix. All right. All right. So let's then go with sort of big picture. Super Bowl odds to win the Super Bowl. Top 8 teams. Got Kansas City, San Francisco, Detroit, Baltimore, Philadelphia, Cincinnati, Buffalo, and Houston. Out of those teams, anyone not making the playoffs?
I think I already said Baltimore.
Yep. Yep. I'm still not convinced that Joe Burrow can stay healthy.
Mm.
And I'm not convinced that he will come back with as much chemistry as he had. That's my big concern for Cincinnati. They had all this. They had the years on the rookie contract, and they were all wasted by. I don't want to say wasted. That's out of your control, right? But unfortunately, when they had these rookie contracts, they had injury issues. Now we're going into a season where people are getting paid. People have been paid. Are they going to be as hungry? Are they going to lay themselves out for that catch? Are they going to, put their bodies on the line as much? Have they been able to maintain that chemistry they had? And that's a tough division. We've talked about that division before. Seems like they're always sending at least 2 teams to the playoffs. So I actually am maybe a bigger doubter in Cincinnati. Um, even if Burrow stays healthy, I just don't know if they can recreate that magic from the first couple of years. So that's my hot take. I think is that Cincinnati is gonna struggle a lot more than people think, and they're gonna end up not making the playoffs out of that division.
Fair. All good points.
Now that's a hot take, so it's probably gonna be wrong because I think everybody's still riding pretty high on them. All
Well, I
right.
think I just picked a team with what, the fourth best odds
Yeah,
to
right.
miss
No,
the
that's
playoffs.
true. That's true. That's yeah, good point. Good point. All right. So let's talk a little bit of the Green Bay Packers. So have you had the time to go through and pick them for each game this year?
I have not.
What do you think the overall Packers record will be at the end of the year?
I think they will be 13-4.
13-4. Wow. Wow. All right, well let's run through the Packers schedule. And
Mm-hmm.
just gut reaction. You tell me win or lose. All right? Eagles,
Win,
Colts,
win,
Titans,
win,
Vikings,
win,
Rams,
win,
Cardinals,
win,
Texans,
win,
Jaguars,
win,
Lions.
loss,
All right, so we don't lose until November 3rd. All right, Packers at home, Bears,
win,
49ers,
loss,
Dolphins,
win,
Lions,
win,
Seahawks,
win,
Saints,
win,
Vikings,
win,
Bears.
win.
All right, so you've got two losses, and so you're throwing in two more as just the unpredictability of the NFL.
Yeah.
Is that where you're at?
Yeah, I could see those two coming to Philly.
Mm-hmm.
I could see them losing a division game. I have them losing once to the Lions.
Right.
Then I suppose if you want to get, the darlings, Houston, one of those Houston Jacksonville type games potentially,
Now-
or they're gonna lose to New Orleans or
The Rams intrigue me because McVay's never beat LaFleur, right?
I think he's beat them once.
Once, okay. Because I remember, was it last year they played and they put that metric up, or the year before they played? They put
Maybe it wasn't LaFleur yet, but was it the Ty Montgomery game when he fumbled the kickoff? Do you remember that?
I do remember that, and I don't think that was LaFleur. I think that was
Still McCarthy.
Yeah,
That might have led to McCarthy's. That might have been the year he was fired.
might have been. Yeah. Let me just look that up. Let's see. Going head to head. Let's see. This is last year. Head to head, LaFleur's 3-0. Now he's 4-0. Yep.
There you go.
Yep. So that's going to be an interesting one to me.
I do Shanahan.
Yeah, right. I'd rather not. What's LaFleur's like 0-5?
I think
It's probably the same, isn't it?
he would have won. I think he won once. I think we beat Mason Crosby, hit a long field goal. That was LaFleur, wasn't it?
That might have been. Yeah. Let's see. I guess they've won a couple of times. LaFleur's gone 2-1 in the regular season, but then 0-2 in the playoffs.
2-1. I can't remember 2 wins.
I wonder if maybe they weren't. Yeah.
There was a CJ Beathard game at Green Bay.
Oh,
I remember
sure.
that.
Sure. Okay. So there we go. There we go.
Playoffs is all that matters, though.
That's those hurt the most. Those hurt the most. All right. All right. So 13-4, huh?
Where am I missing?
I think between the Eagles, the Rams, and the Texans, I think that's a tough schedule. I think the problem is they lose one or two to the surprising team.
Yeah.
The Vikings somehow pull off a win. The Dolphins come in and
Thanksgiving
actually
night.
Right. And somehow, they want to prove they can play in the cold weather.
Yeah, that's
right?
the problem. If they were playing in Miami week 1 or 2, maybe, but
right. I think there's more, just some of these kind of trap games. I think they lose a couple more of those. I mean, I still think 11-6, 12-5. I think it's going to be really tough to get to.
Why do I feel like, because I just said 13-4, that in the future we're going to be on here talking about scenarios where the Packers make the playoffs when they're like 7-8?
Because you're a fan, and sometimes you just need to RELAX.
Yeah,
Jack.
get out of here with that.
Yeah.
All you need is love.
There you go. All right. So last hot take for the morning.
MVP Jordan Love.
Coaches on hot seats. Who do you think might get fired this year that maybe we're not expecting?
The hard part's the not expecting, because I feel like my guys, the guys that come to the top of my head, nobody would really be surprised.
All right. Well, let's go through. Let's just rattle them off, and let's see if I can find a list of current head coaches. So, Arizona Cardinals, Jonathan Gannon.
Wouldn't surprise me.
Raheem Morris.
No.
John Harbaugh.
No.
Sean McDermott. You think he's on the hot seat, right? If he doesn't perform.
Yeah, but that's
even
expected.
Though it's a rebuild. Right. Panthers with Dave Canales.
No.
Chicago Bears, that's expected, right?
Yeah.
Cincinnati Bengals, Zach Taylor. See, they had so much patience.
But if Burrow goes out and plays, there's drama with Jamar Chase, and they still don't do something, maybe, but I would be surprised.
Yeah. And I pin the drama on the GM, not the coach.
Right. So, but if he loses the locker room.
Sure. Cleveland Browns, Kevin Stefanski.
No.
Dallas Cowboys, Mike McCarthy.
I mean, that's the guy that comes to the top of my mind, so Not surprising.
Denver Broncos, Sean Payton.
I don't think so.
Detroit Lions, Dan Campbell.
No, he's Mr. Untouchable.
He's not going anywhere.
He's the greatest coach ever. Didn't you know that?
He's biting kneecaps. Green Bay Packers.
No.
Houston Texans, DeMeco Ryans.
Nope, he's a darling.
Yep. Indianapolis Colts, Shane Steichen.
I don't think so.
Jacksonville Jaguars, Doug Peterson.
I could see him going.
I think if they underperform another year, that might be it. I don't know how hot take that is.
I don't think it's hot take.
Kansas City Chiefs, Andy Reid.
No.
Not a chance. Las Vegas Raiders, Antonio Pierce.
No.
I think that's probably my one hot take would be Antonio Pierce. And mostly it's because of the owner. He's just so impulsive. If things start out bad, as much as he's a darling and the team loves him, players love him, fans love him.
But he's so much different than the normal coach they hire. Like, he's the Rich Bisaccia hire.
I agree. But I just ownership is so erratic there. I think that's the one that I can see being an impulse fire. Jim Harbaugh.
No.
Sean McVay.
No.
Mike McDaniel.
Oh, he just got a big contract.
Just extended. Minnesota Vikings, Kevin O'Connell.
No.
New England Patriots, Jared Mayo.
No.
New Orleans Saints, Dennis Allen.
I think he gets fired. But that's not a hot take.
That's not a hot take. Brian Daboll, Giants.
I could see a path to him being gone,
Mm-hmm.
which I think would be borderline hot take.
That's a warm take.
Yeah,
that's a warm take. New York Jets, Robert Saleh.
I mean, they don't do well. He's gone.
Nick Sirianni.
He comes to mind. I mean, if they same thing. Yeah.
Yep. Mike Tomlin.
That would be a hot take.
That would be a hot take. Yeah. He's not going anywhere, though. Kyle Shanahan.
No.
Mike McDonald in Seattle.
No.
Todd Bowles, Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
Not a hot take, but if they... He was kind of just like assumed the role after Bruce Arians retired.
Yep.
So I don't think they are in love with him.
Right. I think he's gotten more out of that team than was expected. So
yeah,
I mean, at least making the playoffs last year. So we'll see where that goes, what the expectations are. Brian Callahan with Tennessee Titans.
No.
And Dan Quinn with the Washington Commanders.
No.
I think that might be my other hot take would be Dan Quinn, another first year being let go. Because, it seems like owners have a shorter leash now. Now I understand that this is the first hire for a new owner and, probably a little more invested in it and feels like, wants to change the culture. And Quinn's definitely the guy to change the culture and things like that. But if they just come out and flop, I think that the owner is going to want to impulsively right the ship sooner. So I would say that's my second hot take would be Dan Quinn.
If I had to pick a hot take, I don't think it's going to happen. So I'm not calling this, but I think Matt LaFleur would be my hot take.
Explain that one.
If the defense plays well,
sure,
and the Packers struggle and really struggle because they can't get over the hump on offense, which I don't see happening.
Right.
Maybe, but there's just too much invested there to.
Agreed. All right. So, any final big predictions?
I mean, you know where this is going. I don't think it's even a hot take at this point.
It's not a hot take anymore. Everybody loves the Packers.
Yeah, I think Mike Tannenbaum just picked them to win the Super Bowl.
Yeah, right. So
that's Packers are going to win the Super Bowl. Jordan Love will win the MVP of both the regular season and the Super Bowl.
Clean sweep.
Yeah. And they're going to beat the Chiefs.
So, and that's my hot take is that the Chiefs are going to fizzle this year. The NFL is too hard and too competitive for them to keep making it back, even to the AFC Championship game. I think they're going to get knocked out of the playoffs before then. They've just gone on for too long, played too much football, gotten too worn down. They're running out of receivers. They just, and it's not their fault. I mean, that's what this league is designed to do. So my hot take is Chiefs are not playing in the AFC Championship game. They're in a down year, and that's going to be how it goes.
Okay.
Don't ask me who's there in their place.
I was going to say, I suppose I couldn't ask that from you.
Well, let's see. I guess I could see the Ravens just because of head coaching. And they added Derrick Henry. They're a team built for a long.
But I got them missing the playoffs.
Well, you do, but I didn't say that. So I'm going to say Baltimore's there, and let me just check out the list again. Take a look at Baltimore, and let's go. Boy, it's so hard not to look at Kansas City. Oh, man.
You're stuck. It can't be.
I am.
Can't be Houston. Can't be Cincinnati. Can't be Kansas City.
I know. Let's go really, really hot take and well, actually, probably not. Greeny's probably picked them already, but the Jets.
Oh God.
Just for your reaction.
That makes me. I'll quote Matt LaFleur. Matt makes me want to vomit.
So there we have it. We've got Kansas City out. I think most people would put Cincinnati in there, but I'm going to go with Baltimore. And I'm going to go with the New York Jets for that hot take. Let's revisit that one in a couple weeks when they're 1-5. So,
have you done too much? You probably did too much ayahuasca last night. That's what the problem is.
That was a nice little dig. I don't know if that was a dig or a joke.
Yeah, I don't really either, but it was funny.
It was.
And I liked how you
looked around.
All weird.
Yeah. I always thought that Clay, this is, he played before I came up to Wisconsin. I always thought Clay Matthews would have fit in on the Vikings better just because of the long hair, and he looked like a Viking. But
yeah, he had that Chad Greenway flowing hair.
That's right. So, all right. So there you have it. 2024 NFL season primer. We got them locked in. We actually made some picks and hot takes, unlike our draft predictions, where we basically threw out everything. So there we go.
Go Pack, go.
That's right. Let's see where it goes. Till next time.